So, have you ever thought about this? That the instructions you follow, or, the ones you ignore, are basically the blueprints for your entire life. It's a really powerful idea, and today we're going to dive into exactly that, using a piece from his witness T. Alsant called The Architecture of Obedience. The core idea? That our safety is tied directly to the instructions we choose to follow. Let's jump in.
Right off the bat, the author sets up this really stark contrast. It's simple, right? On one side, you have instruction, and that leads to safety. But on the other side, it's not just a neutral space. A scarcity of instruction, as it's put here, invites exposure. And that word invites is so important. It's not passive. It's like you're sending out an open invitation for danger to come find you. And look, we need to be really clear about what we're talking about here. This isn't just some generic, feel-good life advice. The claim the author is making is incredibly specific and it's bold. It's that true, ultimate safety, it's found only in the instructions of the Lord. That's it. This is the absolute foundation of this whole idea. Okay, so that naturally leads to a really important question, doesn't it? If safety comes from following instructions, what happens when you just don't have them? When those instructions are few and far between, what does that silence actually mean for you? And that's where we circle right back to that word, exposure. We're not just talking about, physical danger. It's something way deeper. It's this state of being completely unprotected, spiritually vulnerable, almost like you're trying to build something massive without any blueprints at all. Now, to really bring this abstract idea down to earth, to make it something we can all grab onto, the author uses a really powerful and, frankly, ancient story to make the point. And that story is about Noah. We all know the basics, right? A guy, a giant boat, a world-ending flood. But the author wants us to look at this story we all think we know and see it in a totally different way.
So the story gets reframed. It's not just a random tale of survival anymore. Instead, it's laid out as this very clear four-step process. First, the word is spoken. Then, obedience is chosen. Then, the ark gets built. And only after all that is preservation achieved. You see the sequence there? The order is absolutely key.
Okay, and here's the part that really flips the script. The text is super clear on this. The ark was not Noah's clever idea for survival. It wasn't him thinking, hey, how do I get out of this mess? No, its real purpose was something much, much deeper. So, that's the big question, right? If the ark wasn't just a boat for survival, then what on earth was it? What was the whole point of that massive thing? And the answer is just 3 words, but they're incredibly powerful. The ark was obedience made visible. Think about that. It was the physical, tangible result of a decision. It was faith and obedience turned into something you could actually touch. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Every single plank of wood, every bit of pitch, it wasn't just boat building material. It was a physical symbol of following an instruction. That whole giant structure was basically a monument to the choice to obey, even when it probably made no sense at all. So once you see the ark this way, it leads to the author's final big point about cause and effect. This isn't about luck or coincidence. It's about a direct line, a predictable path from an action to its result. And it's laid out super simply, almost like a law of physics. The cause, the word of the Lord is followed. The effect, preservation follows. It's presented as a direct one-to-one thing. You do this, you get that. Simple. Yeah, so in this way of thinking, being saved wasn't just some lucky break because they happened to be in a boat. No way. It was the guaranteed result of the obedience that built the boat in the first place. The safety was baked into the act of following the instructions.
All right, so this whole idea of an architecture of obedience is pretty compelling, but let's bring it home. What does this ancient story, this powerful metaphor, actually mean for you and me right now? Let's tie it all together.
This is really where the whole metaphor just clicks into place. Think of it like this. Your life is the structure. The instructions from God, that's your blueprint. Your obedience is the actual work, the building process. And the final result, the finished product? Well, that's a life of safety and preservation. And that brings us all the way back to that warning from the very beginning. Do not shape a life in which His voice is rare. Because if those instructions are the only blueprint for a safe life, then trying to build without them is, well, you're just asking for trouble. It's like building that ark with no design plans at all. So, the whole thing leaves us with a really big question to chew on. It's not just about what you think or what you believe, it's about what you're actually building, day in and day out. So, you have to ask yourself, what is the architecture of my life built on?